All right, let's jump right in. You know that feeling when you're stuck in a massive traffic jam? I mean, just nothing's moving. Well, what if I told you that exact same thing could happen inside your own body? Yeah, inside your veins. That's basically what we're talking about today with thrombophlebitis, a traffic jam in your own circulatory system. So take a look at this. On the left, that's what we want to see, a nice, healthy vein. It's like a wide open highway, right? All the red blood cells are just cruising along. But then, look at the right. That's thrombosis. It's a total pileup. The cells have clumped together, they've formed a clot, a literal roadblock. And that right there is the beginning of a very dangerous backup. Okay, so what do we actually call this thing? The medical term is thrombophlebitis. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple if you break it down. Thrombo, that's for the clot, the thrombus, and phlebitis, that just means inflammation of a vein. So you stick them together and you've got it, an inflamed vein because of a blood clot. That's the fancy name for our internal traffic jam. So the big question is, how does a traffic jam like this even get started? It's not just bad luck. Actually, doctors have it figured out pretty well. There's this classic idea called Virchow's triad, and you can think of it as the perfect three-part recipe for making a blood clot. Let's look at the ingredients. And here they are. What's so interesting is how these three things work together. It's kind of like a three-legged stool. You know, if one leg's a bit shaky, that's a problem. But if all three are weak, the whole thing's gonna collapse. That's why doctors look at this triad to figure out someone's risk. The three ingredients are circulatory stasis, endothelial damage, and hypercoagulability. Let's dive into what each of those really means. Okay, ingredient number 1, circulatory stasis. That's just a fancy term for slow-moving blood. Think about it. When you're stuck in one position for hours, like on a long-haul flight, or maybe you're laid up in bed after a surgery, your blood just isn't pumping around like it should. It starts to get sluggish and pool, especially down in your legs. And just like on the highway, when traffic slows to a crawl, that's when accidents happen. All right, ingredient number 2 is endothelial damage. This is all about the condition of the road itself, the inside wall of your vein. Normally, it's super smooth, but things like an injury, a cut from surgery, or even long-term high blood pressure can create, well, potholes. They rough up that smooth surface, and that creates a sticky spot where a clot can grab on and start to build up. And our third and final ingredient is hypercoagulability. Another big word, but it just means your blood itself is, well, extra thick and sticky. It's just more likely to clump together. And lots of things can cause this. Smoking, certain medications with high estrogen, a major infection like sepsis, even some cancers. To go back to our analogy, it's like all the cars on the road suddenly became covered in Velcro. They're just going to stick together. Okay, so now we have our recipe for disaster. We know how a clot can form, but what does it actually feel like when it happens? And this is the important part. Why is this so much more than just a sore leg? This is where things can go from a local problem to a full-blown red alert. And this is what it can look like. A classic sign right here. See how that leg is red and swollen? That's the traffic jam in real time. The blood is backed up, it can't flow back up to the heart properly, so it pools. That triggers an inflammatory response and boom, you get these really visible, obvious signs. So what are the specific warning signs you need to watch out for? Well, you've got that swelling. Doctors call it edema, and the redness, which they call erythema. But it's not just about how it looks. The area will likely be painful and really tender to the touch. You might also notice that it feels warm, like noticeably warmer than the other leg. These are all alarm bells. They're your body screaming that there's a major roadblock. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, that looks painful for sure, but it's just in the leg. It's contained, right? And that is the million-dollar question, because what happens if a piece of that clot breaks free? What happens when that roadblock suddenly starts moving down the highway? This is what happens. That little piece that broke off, it's now called an embolus, is a ticking time bomb. It starts traveling up through your veins, from your leg, all the way up through your heart. And then it gets shot into your lungs, where the blood vessels get really small, and that's where it gets stuck. This image shows it perfectly, how a problem that started way down in your leg can become a life or death situation for your lungs. There is a name for this event, and it's a scary one, pulmonary embolism. And I want to be absolutely crystal clear about this. This is a life-threatening medical emergency. Full stop. It's choking off the blood supply to your lungs. This is exactly why you can never, ever ignore the signs of a deep vein clot. Okay, so after all that doom and gloom, I'm sure you're wondering, so what can we do about it? And that's the good news. We are not helpless here. Doctors have a whole toolkit designed to prevent these logjams from ever happening and to break them up when they do. It's really a layered approach with different tools for different jobs. First, you have prevention, things like compression socks for people who are at risk. Then you've got blood thinners or anticoagulants. These are the workhorses. They stop existing clots from getting any bigger. For really serious emergencies, they bring out the big guns, the clot busters, or thrombolytics. And finally, for the toughest cases, there are advanced procedures like filters and even surgery. And this just shows you the range we're talking about. On the one hand, you have something super simple like compression socks. You just pull them on and they help squeeze the blood back up your legs. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have these incredible little devices called IVC filters. They actually surgically place this tiny little metal basket inside your biggest vein to act like a safety net, catching any potential clots before they can make that dangerous journey to your lungs. This part is just so cool. You've got these really powerful drugs that thin the blood, right? But what if you need to stop them? Like, what if the person starts bleeding or needs emergency surgery? Well, for many of them, there are specific antidotes, reversal agents. So if someone's on a common one like warfarin, doctors can give them vitamin K, and it reverses the effect. It's an amazing safety feature built right into the whole system. All right, as we start to wrap this up, let's just boil it all down. What are the absolute most important things you need to walk away with? What are the key warning signs you just can't ignore? Okay, number one, and please remember this. If you ever have a leg that is painful and swollen, and you even think it might be a clot, your instinct is going to be to rub it to make it feel better. Do not do that. Resist that urge with everything you've got. Massaging it could be the one thing that breaks a piece off and sends it on that deadly trip to your lungs. And really, that brings us to the final, most important point. Your body is constantly giving you signals. Think of them like traffic lights. That pain, that swelling, that redness, those are bright red lights telling you to stop and pay attention. So the big question to leave you with is, are you listening to your body's traffic signals? Because recognizing a small problem early is the absolute best way to stop a little traffic jam from becoming a full-blown catastrophe.